This podcast is sponsored by the Fireman Moving Company. The Fireman Moving Company is the official moving company of WKU Athletics. Not only can they be trusted to move all the coaches in and out of Western, but they can move you anywhere nationwide. The Fireman Moving Company is owned and operated by firemen and is founded by WKU alumni. If you're looking to move sometime soon, give them a call at 270-791-1755 and get yourself a free quote. Welcome to Topper Talk, your number one Western Kentucky athletics podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Moffitt, and I'm joined by co-host Tyler Bailey. Hilltopper Nation, whether it's happening on the hill or on the road, grab those red towels, stand up and cheer, because it's up next on Topper Talk. All right, welcome back, and thank you for downloading and listening to another episode of the Topper Talk podcast. We are the official podcast of the Red Towel Trust Collective, and we're a proud member of the College Huddle podcast community. As always, feel free to follow us on all our social medias, and definitely check out our video episodes over on our YouTube channel at Topper Talk Podcast. We release every episode with a video presentation as well. Got Tyler here with me, man. We've got a basketball episode to dive into, man. You ready to get started?
I am, man. If you ask me, this is the best time of the year, basketball season. I love it. Let's go.
Now, normally we'd get caught up with our Red Towel wrap-up, but we're going to save that for the Kennesaw State preview in the next day or two. But we're still going to give Trent Bedding his plug. So let's hear from little Trent now.
Don't forget your headboards, pillows, and your sheets. We got everything you need for a good night's sleep. Number one on the same check, best of Bowling Green.
All right. Hey! Twins, full, queen and king. Mattresses for anything. Come and pick it out and we can bring it to your house. Have you sleeping real good before the weekend's out. Trent Bedding. It's just like a mattress store. Hey.
Good times as always. Like I said, we have a basketball preview to jump into. Looking at the 24-25 basketball season that is now upon us. We're recording late Saturday night. The season tips off with an exhibition game tomorrow versus UAB at 2 p.m. It's a charity event, benefiting the Boys and Girls Club and the Don and Juanita Coons Center. So, really just looking forward to that matchup. It's going to be a tough game. UAB is obviously a really good team that we have a lot of history with. We played them a lot of times. They've since moved on. They're not in Conference USA with us, but glad to have them back on the schedule, even just as an exhibition. But before we talk about this season and, just all the new names and faces to get familiar with and just outlook on how we're going to do, just a quick recap of how we did last year. Last year, we finished third in the conference in the regular season. We were behind Sam Houston and Louisiana Tech. We finished with an overall record of 22-12. We were 8-8 in Conference USA play, but we went on that magical run in the Conference USA tournament in Huntsville, and we advanced to our first NCAA tournament appearance since 2013. We were the 15th seed and went up against 2-seed Marquette in that first round game, where we ended up losing 69-87. Had a real good showing though. Had a pretty big lead in the first half. Tyrone Marshall was on fire in the first half, could not be stopped. But the wheels came off. Marquette started playing like a 2-seed, and they made shots. So that's what it came down to. We didn't make enough shots, had turnovers, and ultimately didn't win that game. It was still a pretty magical season. Obviously, it was Coach Steve Lutz's first and only season in Bowling Green. After the season, he was offered and accepted a job to Oklahoma State. So we went on a coaching search, obviously, and ended up hiring or promoting Coach Hank Plona internally. But yeah, we'll talk about Hank in just a moment. Tyler, I want to get your quick recap thoughts on just last year as a whole, and obviously having a coaching change heading into this year.
Last year was it was a great season. That's what the fans have been wanting to get back to the NCAA tournament now. Halfway through the conference schedule, who knew what was going to happen? And then there towards the end, when we lost the last 4 games of the conference right before tournament, that's typically not when you want. That's when you want to be playing your best basketball. We lost them 4. So I'm sure a lot of people was nervous. A lot of people didn't know what to expect, but man, Lutz was able to get that team firing on all cylinders there at the right when you need it the most, and went on that magical run. I was there for the championship. You was there all week. It was a great time being down there, and I mean, it definitely don't hate Lutz. I really appreciate what he did. It is kind of sad that he moved on after one season, but he was an up and comer. We got him from Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I'm sure they hated to lose him because he took them to the NCAA tournament a few times. And then he comes up here and he's offered so many millions at Oklahoma State. You just got to take that. I don't blame him. I hate it, but I think hiring internally was the right move. I think Hank is going to do great. And like I said, we're going to talk about him in a little bit, but definitely a great season last year and one that fans will remember for a long time.
Yeah, it was a special season. And like you said, it was unexpected, losing the last 4 regular season games of the year going into that conference tournament. I don't think anybody foresaw us going on that magical run and just having 4 amazing games back to back to back. And, the crowd support that was there the whole time, it just got stronger and stronger as the week builded there to the end when we played UTEP. That championship game was covered up with red. So I love to see that. I hope we carry that on over right into this season, and that this UAB game is packed from day one, game one. It doesn't take a slow build to get to where it's, practically sell out ditto every game. I think that's what it should be from day one. But like you said, Coach Hank Plona was hired internally. He was promoted to be head coach. I think it's pretty well known, his history, his resume previously at Indian Hills Community College before he joined the staff with Coach Steve Lutz. He has an overall head coaching record of 225 and 35. That's an 86.5% winning percentage. Yeah, that's pretty good. He wins. And coming from that, that JUCO level, he's used to turning over rosters every couple years. So, today's day of age and the transfer portal and NIL, I think someone like him is the perfect build for the type of coach that we need. He's very well connected, knowledgeable, smart, and he just wins. And I think that's going to be the expectation of him from day one. Looking at the rest of his staff, he did retain Martin Cross and Tim McAllister from last year's staff. He did lose Robert Guster, who followed Coach Lutz to Oklahoma State. And then replacing himself and Robert Guster, he added Eric Murphy. It's his first year as an assistant here. He joins Coach Plona's staff after being the head coach at Florida Southwestern State College for 6 seasons. During his tenure, Murphy posted a 143 and 34 record, so an 82.9% winning percentage. So another winner on staff, while winning 3 Suncoast Conference championships, along with 2 national JUCO tournament titles. Murphy also served as an assistant at Northern Colorado, Wabash Valley College, and Vincennes University prior to his tenure at Florida Southwestern. And then Coach Plona also added Josh Newman to the staff. He previously had a stint at the University of Pacific. He brings a total of 26 years of coaching experience to the Hill. While at Pacific, Newman served as an assistant for the Tigers in the 21-22 season and the 22-23 seasons before being elevated to associate head coach in November. Then he was promoted to the interim head coach prior to the West Coast Conference tournament this past season before accepting a role here. So Tyler, just looking at the staff shakeup, what do you think about the being able to keep a couple guys from last year and then adding a couple of guys to the mix as well? What's your thoughts on the staff heading into the season?
I mean, I think it's great to keep Martin Cross and Tim McAllister. Both of those guys played a big key in last year's success. And I'm glad he's able to keep them on the staff. Now, talking about Eric Murphy, he's got an overall record of 143 and 34. So obviously he knows how to win too. He's worked at a bunch of JUCO or smaller schools. So just like McAllister, he's used to working with the turnover. And I think when you get coaches coming from that small schools, they do have that kind of chip on their shoulder. They do want to prove themselves. They want to prove that they can play with the big dogs and beat the big dogs. And when you come up to D1, you know that's a lot of teams. And I think it's great getting him a lot of experience there. Josh Newman, even more experience with him, 26 years, being on staff at a school. I think both of those hires are going to be home runs and only going to benefit us in the long run.
Yeah, I think it was vital that we kept Coach Cross and Coach McAllister. I mean, Cross has been here for a long time. He's kind of an old head OG for as young as he is. You know, he's been around Western for a long, long time. Really glad that he got to stick around. And then same with Coach McAllister. You know, he's a great young mind, great young coach. Handles a lot of the operation side of things. Really good with the players, recruiting. Just has good relationships. Just a good overall guy. You know, I really like the men and the characters that we have on our staff. And I think that says a lot, and will do well on the recruiting trail as we look forward. Now, looking at the roster, first I want to talk about the players that we lost from last year. The first player we lost is Brandon Newman. He transferred to Oklahoma State. You know, followed Coach Lutz. They obviously had a history with each other previously from Coach Lutz's time at Purdue. Then he came here, followed him here, and now, you know, followed him for his last season at Oklahoma State. Last year, he appeared in all 34 games. He averaged 25.6 minutes per game, 10.1 points per game, and 5.3 rebounds per game. So a solid contributor last year. And then Dante Allen also transferred to Wyoming for his last season of eligibility. Last season, he appeared in 33 games. He averaged 20.8 minutes per game, 8.2 points per game, and 3 rebounds per game. Then we also lost Rodney Howard. He exhausted his eligibility in his 1 year here. He's now playing professional ball in Croatia. Last year, he appeared in 33 games, averaged 20.1 minutes per game, 9.9 points per game, and then 4.8 rebounds per game. And then we also lost backup center BJ Marable, who hit the transfer portal in April. Haven't seen him land anywhere. You know, tried to search and find if he had landed at a new spot anywhere, but couldn't find any information on that. But obviously, best of luck to BJ wherever he does land, and all the other guys. You know, anybody that, you know, chooses to transfer, we always wish them the best of luck. Then obviously Rodney in his pro career now, so we wish the best to all those guys. But Tyler, I guess I'll kick it to you. You know, first thoughts on, you know, all the guys that we've lost, and, you know, who do you think is going to be the hardest to replace of those guys?
Ooh, this one's tough because I do, you know, I like the centers a whole lot. So the first answer is going to be Rodney Howard. That would be my initial answer. You know, he was down there. It's like in the middle of the season. But at the beginning, he's kind of playing kind of soft. But there towards, I think we was playing down at maybe Sam Houston or New Mexico State. It was one of them out west schools. It just seemed like they flipped a switch on him, and he came in playing mean. And I seriously hated that we lost him after one season. I wish we had him for more. But I'm going to go with Brandon Newman. You know, he was such a versatile player. He could step out, hit the three. He could kind of go in and play coming from the wings, or kind of pop, screen and pop up to the free throw line. So I'm going to say the hardest to replace is going to be Brandon Newman. Dante Allen, I don't like losing any player really, especially transfer, but someone who could hit the three. You know, Dante Allen was that dude sometimes, and he sometimes was a liability on defense. It seems like he maybe didn't put the effort like he should have, but on offense, you know, he could flip that switch and play like a dog too sometimes. But yeah, I'm gonna go the hardest to replace. It's gonna be Brandon Newman.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Brandon. He was kind of that, you know, do anything, can do everything, streaky score, you know, had the green light on at all times. Wasn't necessarily always going on, but he had the green light, and he was a really aggressive rebounding guard for his size. You know, good 6'4", 6'5" guy, but, you know, averaged over 5 rebounds a game. So was a solid contributor just all around both ends of the court. But I'm going to say my hardest to replace is going to be Rodney Howard, and that's because I think, you know, we have plenty of that mid wing size guys. We have several guys that can step up and replace that production. And we still have Babacar, but he's a different kind of center than what Rodney was. They were nice compliments last year. This year we're going to be looking at a couple of new guys to fill that position that Rodney filled last year. And like you said, as the season progressed, he became, you could dump it down to him, expect to score some points. He got very comfortable and very efficient down there and led us in scoring a couple times. Got up to being our number 2 scorer per game. Ended up number 3 just barely, but really came on strong. Was 6th man of the year, newcomer of the year in Conference USA last year. Had a really strong showing in Huntsville, and then earned himself a chance to be playing pro ball right now. So really happy for him and how his career played out here in just one season. But, I think Rodney's going to be the hardest one to replace. I think that big man, that banger, that bruiser that we need to have, versus some teams, that's a question mark for me right now. So we'll see how it unfolds. Looking at the rest of the roster, some of the guys we added Braxton Bayless. He comes to the Hill as a transfer from Niagara, where he appeared in 29 games last year and averaged 11.5 points, 2.1 rebounds, and 2.5 assists. Prior to his time at Niagara, Bayless played 2 seasons under Coach Plona at Indian Hills. So got to love that connection there. And then we have Blaze Keita. He joins Hilltoppers this season as a transfer from Nebraska. He appeared in 21 games as a junior, starting in 5 of those contests. Then we also added Cade Unseld, who is a true freshman from right here in Bowling Green. He went to Warren Central High School. He was ranked as the number 64 small forward and the number 4 player in Kentucky in the class of 24. He led his team to a state championship his junior year and was selected to the Kentucky High School Association Sweet 16 All-Tournament team. And then we also added Cade Stinnett to the roster. He transferred here from Center College. Last year, he appeared in 21 games, starting 20 as a sophomore. He averaged a team-high 16 points per game to go along with 5.2 rebounds. He also is a native of Bowling Green. He played here at Greenwood High School, where he scored 1,700 points in his career and charted a school single-game scoring record with 41 points. He was a Kentucky, Indiana All-Star in 2022, Kentucky, Ohio All-Star in 2022, and a Mr. Basketball candidate in 2022. Then we also added Julius Stedford. He's another true freshman. He comes here from Cordova High School in Memphis. He was ranked the number 62 shooting guard and the number 5 player in the Tennessee in the class of 24. Stedford led his team to a 29-4 record his senior year, and he averaged 21 points and 7 rebounds per game. And then lastly, we added Leroy Odahai. He comes to WKU after a season at Old Dominion, where he played 24 games and started 9 as a junior. Prior to his time at Old Dominion, Leroy played for Coach Hank Plona at Indian Hills Community College, where he was named a 2023 Spring Academic All-Second Team member. So, Tyler, we got several new faces. Even though we didn't lose a lot of guys, we added, quite a bit to the roster. So, what are your thoughts on some of these new guys, and what are you expecting?
Well, I do like how the majority of them, or at least some of them, has a connection to Hank Plona, at least played for him when they was back in Indian Hills. It's always good to have that kind of feel for a certain player. Leroy Odahai, I feel like he comes in, he's 6'11", 218 pounds. I feel like he's going to fill in that spot that Rodney Howard left. And with that size body, maybe he has a soft touch around the rim, or he can get mad and at least push some boys around. I like that. Julius Stedford, during the interview, Hank Plona was really high on him. Which is a good sign. I feel like he's 6'4", 190 pounds. He could come in and try to fill the role that was left by Brandon Newman. He comes in as shooting guard. Maybe he can knock down some threes, be aggressive going there and battle with the big boys, and at least get high enough to get some of them rebounds. Blaze, he comes in from Nebraska. A great name, Blaze Keita. I feel like he has that P4 experience. He knows what, he's had to play hard. And I just feel like I feel like the team is going to be great. You know, I'm expecting a lot of things out of Julius Thedford. Being the fifth best player in Tennessee, 65th best shooting guard. You know, that's high praise. And then if a coach is really high on you, like Hank was, I feel like that just is all positive signs as long as he can play with the team and not be a distraction, and try to play me ball, play team ball. And I feel like Hank's going to make him play unselfishly, if you would. I feel like Hank's did a great job of getting these guys in here. Cade Stennett, you know, if you look at it, he has a list of accolades that was given to him. I feel like he's going to add to, not to quote Coach Stansbury too much, add to, not take away. And then Cade Unseld, I work with his dad at work, or I know his dad. I feel like he's going to be a great local player, kind of like George Fant. And granted, he plays a different position, but I mean, he's the number 4 player in Kentucky, 64 small forward, same position actually. He's going to bring in that local flavor to the team. And him and Julius actually played on the same team for the same AAU team, the Mokane Elite, on the Nike circuit. So, you know, they are going to have that connection whenever they play together. And I feel like that's only going to help us. But man, I feel like Hank did a really great job on the recruiting trail and the transfer portal.
Yeah, I'm really excited for, all those guys that are adding to the roster. I think, like I mentioned earlier, the biggest question mark for me being the replacement of Rodney Howard. Who's going to be that big body? I think we added a couple guys that can do that in Blaze Keita, who come from Nebraska, like you said, that P4 experience, big body that can bang. Now he wasn't kind of similar to Rodney, hasn't been utilized a lot in his previous stops, but was highly rated, coming out of JUCO before he went to Nebraska. Has had a little bit of injury concern. So, as long as we can get him here and keep him healthy and keep him on the court, I think he can be that guy that fills the shoes that Rodney left. And then, like you mentioned, Julius Thedford, have heard nothing but great things about him all summer. I think he really is going to, force himself to be played on the court like Tegan did last year. Every time Tegan got on the court last year, good things happened. And by the end of the season, Tegan's averaging, 15 to 20 minutes a game and being a reliable scorer for us and tough on the defensive end as well. So, I'm really excited about those guys, and I think they're going to definitely add to this roster. But we have a lot of experience coming back, and let's talk about those guys. Returning, we have Don McHenry coming back. He played in 34 games last year, averaged 27.8 minutes per game, 15.1 points per game, 3.4 rebounds per game, 2.4 assists per game, and almost 1 steal per game. So just Mr. Do-It-All utility knife there. Heck of a player. Glad to have him coming back, obviously. Then Tyrone Marshall Jr. appeared in all 34 games, played 24.5 minutes per game, averaged 8.8 points per game, and 4.5 rebounds per game. Then Jalen Jackson, he only appeared in 10 games due to injury, averaged 21.2 minutes per game and 4.3 points per game. And then Christian Lander returning, he appeared in 26 games. He averaged 23.1 minutes per game and 9 points per game. Babacar Faye appeared in all 34 games, averaged 18.5 minutes per game, 7.5 points per game, and 5.6 rebounds per game. Then we got Tegan Moore, appeared in 28 games. He averaged 14 minutes per game, 6.2 points per game, 2.3 rebounds per game. Enoch Kalambe, all 34 games, 18 minutes per game, 6.2 points per game, 4.6 rebounds per game. Falu Jun, only appeared in 5 games, averaged right around a minute per game, only 1.2 points per game. So just, not a lot as a backup there. Terrion Murdix transferred this last year, came over from Texas A&M Corpus Christi, came over with Steve Lutz, but had an injury at the end of his season before transferring here. Did not play at all last year. Not really sure what to expect from him this year as far as recovery from injury. But when he did play, last at Texas A&M Corpus Christi, he was the Southland Defensive Player of the Year. I believe he was the MVP of the Southland tournament. So he's a heck of a player, a tough guard, and very active defensively. So whenever he gets a chance and gets healthy and gets back on the court, I do have high expectations for him. And then we also returned Jack Edlin. Not your average walk-on. This guy appeared in 27 games last year. He averaged 8.9 minutes per game and only 1 point per game. But a lot of his effect on the court and what he brought to this team, wasn't necessarily on stat sheet. He just kept the offense moving, kept the floor spaced, and just got the ball out of his hands to the right person to score. So, really love what Jack brings to this team. Then we also bring back Jalen Dorsey, another walk-on, appeared in 8 games last year, 1.8 minutes per game and 1.3 points per game. And then everybody's favorite, Fluff, 8 games appeared in 1.9 minutes and 0.8 points per game last year. So Tyler, now we've touched on all the newcomers and all the returning guys. Who are you most excited to see on this WKU roster this season?
Man, this is a tough question. Don McHenry, you're right. He did a little bit of everything, and great player. And then Tyrone Marshall, you throw him in there, also a awesome player. I'm going to throw in and see. I'm most excited to see Tegan Moore, see what kind of steps he took to further his game, and to see how good he got in the off season, how much he was in the gym, how many shots he put up. I'm excited to see what he can do to improve on his game from last year to further make himself a WKU legend, if you would.
Yeah, Tegan's a good selection. I might be talking about him here shortly, but my most excited to see player, and I purposely didn't talk about him earlier when we were talking about the newcomers, is Braxton Bayless, who came over from Niagara. He actually was their leading scorer at Niagara. I think it was 11.5 points per game, if I recall correctly, but he was coming off the bench. He was their 6th man. He wasn't even a starter. And I think he may be in that same role here. I think he'll be battling for a starting position, maybe in that, one of those first couple of guys off the bench, but he's one of those guys that when he's in the game, he can take that pressure off of Don McHenry. Don is obviously a very good scorer, very good with the ball in his hands, very dynamic, can get to the hole mid-range and shoot the 3. But I think having somebody like a Braxton Bayless on the floor can help relieve that pressure off of him and maybe open the floor spacing up for what Don McHenry does best. So, I'm most excited to see Braxton and what he brings to this team, especially with, again, his familiarity with Coach Plona. I think that, several of these guys now, we have those guys on the team that know, even from, this point in summer practice, they know the kind of intensity and exactly what he wants to instill in this team offensively and defensively. So I'm really excited to see, how he pans out here in Bowling Green. Tyler, who do you think is going to be your breakout player for this season?
Well, you stole my dude. I'm going to throw in Braxton Bayless. With him coming off the bench and still averaging 11 and a half points, still adding to the rebounds and assists. You're right. He could. Him and Jack Edlin were both or Jack Edlin last season was kind of a change of pace point guard. I feel like Braxton could be that this year. My breakout player is going to be Braxton Bayless.
See, we just flipped our first two because my breakout player is Tegan Moore. I think a lot of times when you look at college players' careers, you see the biggest step forward from that freshman to that sophomore year. And I think if we go from a Tegan averaging, 14 minutes a game and 6 points per game, if he jumps up to 20-ish minutes per game, he jumps up to 10, 11, 12 points per game. I think that's going to be a huge step and, making him, whether it's a second, third, fourth scoring option, whatever it is, he's going to be a guy that I think is competing for a starting spot on this team, being one of those first 5 guys on the floor. But I also think he's going to be somebody that's out there finishing games as well. We used to have a coach that said it doesn't matter who starts, it matters who finishes games. So he's one of those guys you want out there on the floor because he's impactful. I think we have a lot of good players, but I really am expecting, that biggest step forward to come from Tegan Moore. So I'm really excited to see what he brings to the team and to the floor this year. Who have you got for your MVP for this basketball season?
I'm going to go with Tyrone Marshall. He adds points, he adds rebounds, but he also adds some defensive pressure, some blocks. He is taller. He can guard multiple people on court. So that's going to be my MVP this year is Tyrone Marshall.
Man, I'm like flipping a coin between Tyrone and Don McHenry, but I'm going to go with the steadiest hand, and I think that's Don McHenry. He's the guy that you kind of know what you're getting every single game for him. He's just very, high energy, up and down the floor quick, green light, can affect the game, by getting to the hole. That mid-range game was pretty good. And then he was stepping out, making some threes last year. So, but I think Tyrone, how he ended the season last year, he's a mismatch problem. He showed that. He's that 6'6", big, long wing, athletic guy, can shoot the ball, can be physical and get down low, take you down there and be a mismatch problem. So I think either one of those guys are a great pick for MVP. But I'm flipping a coin. I'm landing on Don McHenry. I just think if he takes another step forward from his junior to his senior year, and has that, kind of that Orlando Mendez Valdez type senior season, conference player of the year level season and leads us to another tournament. Yeah. OMVP, that type of season. I think Don could definitely do that, especially with some of the pieces that we have around him, the players and the skill that we added to this roster will make his life easier, where maybe we don't lean on him as much, but maybe he gets to eat a little bit more because we have so much skill around him. So I'm really excited for Don and, what he brings to this team. And I think he's that MVP kind of guy. This one's tough because we got a lot of good names, good bodies to choose from. But if you had to project who the starting five is going to be, who would you say your starting five is going to be, day one? UAB's tomorrow, no pressure.
All right, so I'm going to start out with Don McHenry. I think that's a given. Tyrone Marshall, I think he's also going to be there. I'm probably going to go with Christian Lander as well. So that's 3. Probably, I'm torn right here on the next one. I'm going to say Enoch. And then rounding out the center, I'm going to say Blaze Keita. Big boy, 6'11", just like Leroy, but Blaze is much stouter. He's 250 pounds. That's a lot of weight to push around there in the center. I feel like he's also going to be a defensive, definitely a rim protector. I think both Leroy and Blaze are both going to be great rim protectors, but I'm going to give the nod to Blaze Keita to round out my 5.
I'm pretty similar to you. I got Don McHenry. He's an obvious one. Tyrone Marshall's an obvious 2. Christian Lander, that graduate senior player, is an obvious 3. Babacar Faye, I think, is that big body, can be that big presence for us. And then I've got Tegan Moore. That's my 5th starter. I think he's, kind of can play that 3-4 role most of the time against most opponents. But then when I take it a step further, I look at our second unit. You have Enoch, you have Braxton Bayless, you have Blaze Keita, and Jalen Jackson kind of being your first 4 off the bench. I think that's a pretty solid second unit in and of itself, mixing with those first 5. So I think we have a solid 9, in my opinion. And I think the rest of the guys can also play, but I think our starting 5, whoever it is going to be solid. And even then, the first 2, 3, 4 guys off the bench behind those guys are going to be really, really strong. So I'm really looking forward to whoever that is. Obviously that we're just guessing. We don't know. And obviously it's going to be subject to change as the season gets going. Sometimes you ride the hot hand. Sometimes there's injuries. Who knows? We'll see. But I'm looking forward to it. I think this roster is loaded with talent. Now looking forward to our schedule and then the Conference USA Media Days that were just held a couple weeks ago. WKU was voted to finish 2nd in the league. That's by the head coaches. We were picked to finish 2nd behind Louisiana Tech. And I found it interesting that 5 different teams received first place votes. So, kind of a lot of parity there at the top of the league. Don McHenry and Tyrone Marshall Jr. were named to the preseason All-CUSA team. And then looking at the schedule, we're going to break it down in 2 parts. We're going to do non-con and then the conference schedule. So obviously we tip off tomorrow, the 27th versus UAB in that charity exhibition game. Then on 11-4, we opened the season hosting Wichita State in that return game from last year, where the 3-point streak was broken. Quite frankly, that's just crazy that streak ended. And I think that was the first game of the Lutz career, which is just crazy. Then we also go to Grand Canyon and play there, part of that Western Alliance Conference that we have done the last couple of years. We host Campbellsville and Lipscomb. Then we also host Jackson State. Then on 11-26, we go at Kentucky. Then we have Marshall here in Diddle on 11-30. On 12-7, we go to Evansville and play at the Evansville, which will be special for Christian Lander and his family being from there. That'd be really awesome to be so close for all his friends and family. Then in December, on the 10th, we host Tennessee State. On the 14th, we host Murray State. On the 17th, we host Seattle. On the 21st, we host KWC. And then we round out non-conference play on December 29th by traveling to Michigan and playing the Wolverines in Dusty May's first season as the head coach up there, formerly from FAU, led them to prominence the last few years. So Tyler, jump in, talk about this non-conference schedule. It's obviously a lot more beefed up than what we had last year. There was definitely a lot of chatter last year just about how weak that non-conference was. But I don't think you can say that this year. I mean, there was a lot of quality opponents on the schedule. So, who have you got for your toughest game in the non-conference part of the schedule?
I mean, this one's tough because Grand Canyon was picked first in the Western, the WAC. And I think they only lost like 3 games last season or something. It was a very low number. I'm probably going to say the hardest one's going to be versus Kentucky. Mark Pope, coming in as a new coach, as a Rick Pitino player, I feel like he's going to play fast. He's going to jack up a crap ton of threes. So I feel like that's going to be kind of hard for us to play against. I know Hank's probably going to play an up-tempo game as well, but I mean, there's going to be a lot of shooters on that court, so it's going to be interesting. I think we're going to get into the games we win and lose after this one, right? All right, I'm going to keep that a mystery. I think the non-con though is going to be really good. We revived the Marshall game or the Marshall rivalry. I've been looking forward to that. Now, if we get that on football, I'll be even happier. You play Michigan, Murray State, like I said, Marshall, Kentucky, Lipscomb, Grand Canyon, Wichita State. No one can say we have a cupcake non-con this year. I mean, that's a lot of good teams, and it's definitely going to test us and definitely going to make us better for the conference slate that we got to play in. But I mean, Hank has a tough first season, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think our toughest game is probably going to be that Kentucky game. In-state opponent, obviously. Kentucky has a rich and storied tradition. I think that's no secret or surprise, and there's obviously a lot of UK fans that surround us, unfortunately. But they did turn over. They have a new coach. Calipari's gone. They brought in Mark Pope, and honestly, I have a lot of respect for the fact that year one put us on the schedule. It's been a long time. Short of the tornado charity game we did a few years ago, that was, thrown together, last minute to raise some funds for the people affected by the tornado. Before that, it had been 2001 since we had a scheduled game that wasn't just a last minute, COVID type of put together thing because we needed a game to play. So a lot of respect to Coach Pope and staff for even scheduling us because I think both of our teams have a lot of question marks. I'm sure they filled their team with a lot of really good talent. I know they did. They brought in some Kentucky boys and some national other talent that's going to be really solid. But I really like our team as well. So that's going to be a tough game. And then kind of like you, I'm most excited that we renewed that Marshall series, that Moonshine Throwdown that we've been without for a few years now. Those games are always intense, always well traveled and packed. I can't wait to have, some friends to talk about that game before we play it. I'm sure we'll have them on to to preview that game, and then hopefully they can make the trip here to Bowling Green, and then same for us next year when we return the favor and head to Huntington. We'll put on some protective gear and slide up that way and check out the the Cam Henderson Center. I've caught a couple of games there now, but I'm really looking forward to that series being renewed. And then like you said, the rest of this schedule is tough. Michigan, again, just another historical team. Don't really know what to expect with the new coach there in Dusty May, but he's obviously been really solid in what he's done over the few years at FAU. Led them to a Final Four. Led them. Kept them in the top 25 ranking there for a couple seasons. So has shown he can win, but sometimes stepping up to a higher level, go from FAU to Michigan can be tough. But don't really know what to expect from them. But I'm sure that will be a battle right there to close out our non-conference schedule. So Tyler, what do you have projected as your win-loss record for the 13-game non-conference slate?
All right, so I talked about how hard the schedule is, how beefed up it is. I'm going to say we go 11-2 in non-con. I think the losses probably going to be Grand Canyon because we play them at Grand Canyon, and then Kentucky. I think we beat Michigan. I think we go up north. We show them how we play ball. Dusty May, never heard of her. And then I think because yes, he was good in the G5, he was good in the NCAA tournament, but is he ready for a P4 job? I don't know. I'm hoping he's not, because I think we go up there and upset that team on December 29th.
Yeah, I've got us going 10-3, so I'm just one loss different from you. Two of our losses are the same, Kentucky and Grand Canyon. I think winning on the road can be tough. Going to Grand Canyon, that's a big trip. Even though they're going to be without their best player reportedly, Tyann Grant Foster, who also knows Coach Plona pretty well from their time at Indian Hills. That's just a tough game. That travel, being in the road environment, probably going to be loud. I could see us stumbling there. Then the UK game, as much as I would love to win that one and upset them, it's just going to be a tough and tall task. But then I have our third loss coming to Michigan, the last game of the non-conference. Again, it's more about just being on the road, probably going to be a tough environment, tough atmosphere, and just winning on the road can be tough. And I think if we come out of our non-conference slate 10-3 or 11-2, either one of our record predictions, I think we'll be looking pretty solid and pretty happy with looking forward to our Conference USA slate, which starts on January 2nd. We go to Liberty, and then January 4th, we go to FIU. And then the next week, January 9th and 11th, we host Jacksonville State and then Kennesaw State in our first matchup with them in Conference USA. January 18th and 23rd. And then the 25th, we have a 3-game road trip. We play at MTSU, at Louisiana Tech, and at Sam Houston State. That is a tough 3-game stretch over that week period there. That's going to be a tough stretch. And then January 30th, we host UTEP. February 1st, we host New Mexico State. Then February 6th and 8th, we go to Kennesaw and to Jacksonville State. And then February 15th, we host MTSU. February 20th, we host Sam Houston. February 22nd, we host Louisiana Tech. And then on the 27th of February, we go to UTEP. On March 1st, we go to New Mexico State. And then we close out the conference play with 2 home games on 3-6 and 3-8. We host FIU, and then we host Liberty here at Ditto Arena. So bookending our conference slate with Liberty to open and to close, just like we did last year, but flipped this year. Last year we hosted them first and played there last. This year we go there first and host them last. So pretty predictable mirrored scheduling by Conference USA as a whole. A tough road trip, kind of near the middle beginning of that stretch of 18 games. But Tyler, what do you think is going to be the toughest game? And I put games as well. If you think it's going to be a stretch of games, what's your toughest game on the conference part of the schedule?
The toughest games, I think, will probably be at Liberty. I think that's number one. Middle Tennessee, they typically don't have enough fans to fill up a tenth of their stadium. So I think if the refs don't really just give them the game there, really help them out, I think that could be a win. Probably Sam Houston and at Sam Houston, because it's always tough to win on the road and at La Tech. You know, back for last year, it was a really long stretch before we won down there. Now, granted, they did beat us at Diddle last season, but I feel like those three are definitely going to be the toughest ones. You know, Kennesaw State, I don't know enough about their team. They're kind of like the dark horse right now. You know, I don't know enough about them to make a real educated guess. Jacksonville State, no. Oh, Ray Harper. It's going to be good to beat him two times this season at least. And then I'm also going to add Florida International. You know, FIU. We typically have in recent history a really bad way of losing down there whenever we play at FAU. So FIU. So I'm going to say those games are going to be the toughest games that we're going to have to play. I feel like when we play at home, you know, we should have a pretty good record, but it's always on the road that scares me.
Yeah, I think our toughest game, and I put games here because I think that 3-game stretch from January 18th, January 23rd, January 25th, where we're on the road at Middle Tennessee, at Louisiana Tech, at Sam Houston. Those are 3 of the 5 teams that all receive first place votes, with the other 2 being Liberty and us. So that's a tough 3-game stretch. You know, if we come out of that, you know, winning, you know, more than one, if we win 2 out of 3 or all 3 of those, you know, I think that would really set us up for a strong middle and finish of the season. But I think that 3-game stretch and definitely being on the road, you know, I hope and expect us to win, you know, all of our home games. You know, we should defend Diddle. We should have a good home crowd, good home atmosphere, and a good home advantage. You know, if we take care of business at home and win, you know, more of our away games than we lose, you know, we're going to be really tough in conference. I think, you know, we were one of the only teams last year that had a winning away record. So it's tough. That 3-game, you know, away game record is going to be tough and telling for, you know, how the rest of the season may go, in my opinion. So, is there any game that you're most excited to see on the schedule in conference play?
I'm going to say games because it's always good to play Liberty. I feel like we have a good rivalry with them, a good new kind of rivalry, not one of hatred, but I mean, I dislike them. But I'm also going to throw in Middle Tennessee in there. It's always good to play them because of the rivalry and that hatred. So yeah, I'm most excited to see those. It's going to be good though to play La Tech because I mean that's typically always a good basketball game. You know, they have a good basketball program, and like you said, they're one of the teams that got the first place votes. So I feel like that's going to be a real hard fought game right there.
Yeah, I'm nearly the same as you. I think both the Liberty games are going to be tough. Excited to see them. Yeah, I know they didn't have as great a season as they wanted to have last year. You know, changed their roster up, had some transfers this year. So they're looking to take a step forward. MTSU, you know, they had some injury and some health issues last year, but I think they bring back several players, including Justin Porter, you know, who's one of their leading scorers. They lost Jared Coleman Jones, their big guy that kind of single-handedly beat us at MTSU last year before the jump ball, no technical timeout given, whatever you want to call it last year. You know, that boy stepping out and hitting 3 or 4 threes that the OG said he couldn't hit. You know, I think MTSU is going to be tough. And then I think the La Tech, you know, they bringing back Daniel Bacho. You know, he's the preseason conference player of the year. He's a legit, you know, power 4 big man in Conference USA. You know, he's who we had in recent years when we had Jamarion and Charles Bassey and Dwight Colby, when we just went through that run of having solid bigs every year. You know, he's a legit player that probably could have went to a lot of different places and played. I think he came to La Tech from Texas Tech, if I'm not mistaken. So he has that experience playing big boys, and he's a really solid player and really good pick for Conference USA preseason player of the year. But I think all those games are going to be tough. I hope that we hold serve at Diddle and win all those games. But the road contests are definitely going to be tough in every single one of those matchups. Now, talking about those matchups, what is your projected win-loss record of the 18 conference games?
I think we go 13-5. I feel like we defend Diddle. Some of the games that we lose on the road is going to be at Liberty, FIU, La Tech, and let's see, I think one was Sam Houston that I picked. But I feel like at home we stay perfect, but it's just on the road. It's always tough to lose on the road, and I feel like that's going to be no different than this year. I just feel like we come out. Last year we finished 8-8 conference. I feel like we bring back some of the players, or bring back most of the players. They have continuity with each other. They know each other really well, and I feel like we just ball out this conference season.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think we take a step forward from the 8-8, 500 season that we saw last year. We're just kind of inconsistent. Lost those 4 games in a row leading into the conference tournament. I have us going 14-4 in conference play, which is one game better than what you have us projected. But you also had us going one game better in non-con. The 4 games I have us penciled in as losing is that opener at Liberty. I just think going to Liberty, they're going to have some energy. And then I think that 3-game road stretch with MTSU, La Tech, Sam Houston. I would love to win 1, 2, or all 3 of those games. I just think those road games are all going to be tough. And I have them all penciled in as L's. If we win any of them or all of them, I think we'll be in really, really, really good shape just as a team and what we can do for the rest of the season. Just getting that tough road stretch out of the way. After that, we don't play any more than just 2 away games back to back with our normal travel schedule. So 14-4 in conference play. We both have us going 24-7 as an overall record, which is an improvement from the 22 wins last year. And then the Conference USA tournament is once again scheduled to be in Huntsville at the same arena. Hopefully, like you made it last year for the championship game. A lot of Western fans made it down for the majority of the week, and then it just kept getting bigger and stronger as we advanced through the tournament to the finals. I really would encourage anyone who's on the fence about making that trip, man. It's a really good and fun area. It's a really really grown up, kind of a new hip part of town. A lot of good shopping and eating and just walkable places, hotels nearby. It's a really good location for the conference tournament. I was probably one of those that was on the fence of, man, Huntsville, really? Couldn't be Nashville or Atlanta or somebody when they announced it. But at least it's a lot closer than Frisco. It's an easy trip down 65 to get there. It just takes a few hours from Bowling Green. And that really showed last year. We had a true home court advantage in every game last year. Us in Middle Tennessee, they didn't have as many for their men's side, especially after we blew them out, but their women made it to the championship game last year and won. They had a really solid crowd for their women as well. So, that home court advantage on a neutral site in that Conference USA tournament was huge and definitely helped propel us to victory. So I'm really looking forward to being there for that tournament again, catching up and seeing some old friends from other schools, hopefully down there as well. But man, I'm really looking forward to it. I think both of us, preseason 24-7, I think a lot of fans will live with that. 20 wins is always kind of that threshold, that marker you want to get to. And with Coach Hanks, just, like other players have said, Google him. He wins. 86% of his games, he wins. I think 24-7, I think I did the math earlier, it was like 76, 77%. So, I'm cutting him a little short. Hopefully if he hears this, he understands that, if he does better than that, I'm here for it. Go out and win 26, 27 games. I'd love to see that. But I think 24-7, that both of us predicted and projected is really respectable. Would put us right there in contention to be the 1 seed in the conference tournament, and on paper have the easiest path to repeating as Conference USA champions. So really looking forward to it. The basketball season is upon us. Like you said, the favorite time of the year. Get that crossover of football and basketball going on at the same time. Plus all the other sports still going and kicking, and volleyball still holding strong, winning ball games. Football obviously right there, competing for a conference championship. Controlling their destiny. So I'm here for it. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to get back in Dental Arena and support this basketball team, and see what Coach Plona brings to the hill as the head coach in his first season here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Tyler, go ahead and hit us with your final words and final thoughts, and take us on out of here.
Yeah, I'm going to also say someone I'm really excited to see is going to be Jack Edelin. Last year before the season even started, I saw him over at the Barron County High School, and I was kind of like, who's this dude? And he came on and he did surprise me, because the boy came out and played good. He was a good passer. He led to assists, and he just knew where to put the ball to make the other player better. And I definitely appreciate him sticking around this season. I know he was hoping to be a scholarship player. Hopefully that he sticks around. He balls out this season, and it makes him, and he does get it next season, because if you ask me, he's working his way to it. But man, I'm so excited for basketball season to be back. There is no greater time than that crossover, like you said. It's just to me, it's a magical time, because you're either watching football or you're watching your basketball team, and I'm seriously here for it. It's great that Kentucky added this on the schedule again. Mark Pope, I feel like he wanted to have a couple of in-state games. He's already got Louisville already, that's on the schedule. But for him to add us, I seriously respect him for that. Because Cal was a coward. I'm not scared to say it. I never liked the boy. But hey, if we go up there and we keep it close, that's only going to be a feather in our hat. If we win, more the better. Because Hank, he is a student of the game, if you ask me, and I feel like he is going to have a good game plan for most of the games we're going to play in, if not all. And then with his assistant coach and all of the years of experience they have and the different schools they coached at and coached under, they're going to all kind of have a different mixture of coaching philosophies that they're going to lean on. And I feel like if they can get this team playing good, this team will play great, because there is a bunch of great players coming in, a bunch of great players returning. And I feel like this is going to be a good mixture of current and new players, and there's nothing I can hate on this team about. I'm seriously looking forward to this one, because I think this is going to be a great season. And you're right, we're both kind of shortchanging Coach Plano, and I feel like he's going to win us more games than that than the 24. He's going to get to his normal record. But man, I can't wait. I wish I could be there tomorrow. I have a baby shower to be at the same time as the game. If it's on the radio, I'm going to listen to it. Kind of have a little earbud in, because I am not going to miss us playing UAB. I still hate them from all the years whenever we played them in conference, especially with conference championship always being down there, basically in their city. I felt like that was kind of dirty, but man, I'm seriously here for it. Basketball season, yes. Football season, you're still going strong. You're still going to win some games. I'm still going to be excited to cheer you on conference championship time comes. But with that, Moth, who has it better than us?
Nobody, buddy. You know it. Go Tops.
Go Tops, y'all.
Later, guys.
See you.